Well, good morning and welcome back to Little French Homestead. If you are new here today, my name is Sherry. Welcome. Today, it is a beautiful day here in Florida. It is starting off very nice. I am in the central location of Florida, still more towards the west coast, but it is 65 degrees at 8:45 in the morning. It has a slight chill to the air, but it is beautiful. It is going to get warm a little later, but this morning I thought it would be a perfect opportunity to bring you outside, enjoy some air, because I'm usually stuffed in that kitchen making videos, food videos, but I wanted to do something a little bit different today. So enjoy my chickens in the background because they are hilarious, okay? So this video is going to be more or less about being prepared, okay? Have you ever felt like your pantry was a complete chaos, mess? Can't find what you're looking for? You need help? Well, here are some tips, okay? So this is about smart organization and buying, not necessarily stockpiling or prepping. So think strategically about planning your delicious meals, and it's not just survivalism. Or is it? You decide. Now, before you guys get all crazy thinking like it's another 2020 coming, you guys need to sit down and have a one-on-one with your spouse, your partner, your family. Bring your kids involved, bring your parents involved, and explain to them the importance to you on how you have the feeling or the need to do this. It is all about food security. There's a wonderful plane. And you can try using phrases instead of saying, prepping. You can call it, well, I invest my cash, my hard-earned money into prepping items, food items, okay? Sometimes people would call it like a retirement plan, Well, if you're nearing that retirement age, right now you're still working. So right now you could still go out and still go ahead and purchase, a couple of extra cans of food and stockpile them. Um, you know, you can call it, this is your investment portfolio, you know. Job loss protection, if you've recently had a job loss. Right now, there are some issues going on right now in the world, so you could consider this, a job loss. Have that extra security so it takes you a month or two to go get a job. You have that extra food in your pantry or in your freezers, and you're able to survive off what you have. Also, too, illness prevention, you could call it that. If somebody in your family is like sick, and I'm not talking like a cold or a flu, I'm like really sick, you could have a lot of prep meals already, like casseroles or soups or stews that are in the freezer that are all ready for you. So if by chance, even if you're single, if you're going to do this one-on-one, you have then the backup to go ahead and throw that in the microwave or heat it in the oven, and you're not standing over the stove for a good half an hour, 45 minutes to make a meal. You've already done all of that prepping. Okay. Also, too, if you are in some severe weather prone states, then you can call it weather insurance. We're here in Florida, we could certainly do that. Up in New Hampshire, you could call it, the winter storm prepping, or, tornado alley. You can do anything like that. So like I said, because we live here in Florida, there are a lot of natural disasters that hit here quite more often during that time frame, and you want to go ahead and be prepared. In a previous video, I talked about the living in Florida and how we were completely unprepared in the 90s for when Hurricane Andrew hit. Now, I was living in the Keys with my mom, my dad, and my daughter. I was a newly single mom. She was she was 3 months when we moved back down to Florida. Well, when we moved to Florida the first time. Now, I visited Florida my whole life, so that sometimes I may confuse that a little bit. But, my parents had moved down to Florida in the Florida Keys, and then I followed about a year later, and then in 1992, Hurricane Andrew hit, and we were completely unprepared for that. Um, I have a whole video on that, and I can tag it at the end so you can go ahead and see that if you like. We're a little bit closer to the Ocala, region right now, but we are still very hurricane prone. Last year we had Hurricane Milton and Helene come through. Thankfully, we just saw the sides of it, but we did lose power both times for about 12 hours. Thankfully, my mom and dad still had power, so we were able to go over, take showers if we wanted to, have, a hot meal if needed. But if it got down any further that we did not have power, we would have had to start, taking some of our freezer stuff over to my mom and dad's house to help use it. So, I mean, you want to sit down and talk with your family. Now, like I said, me and my husband, we sat down about 6 years ago and we explained to each other what it meant for us to be prepared, to have our preps kind of ready. You and your husband can say preps, you and I can say preps, but other people may, look at you kind of funny. But I mean, if you remember, he grew up in the Bahamas. Okay, so his old life, and he couldn't evacuate, at least here in Florida, if it's coming on the East Coast, over by like Miami or something, and it's going to stay up that whole East Coast, you can go over to Tampa and avoid it all. But when you live over in the Bahamas, you just have to suck it up, and hopefully it doesn't destroy your house or blow your roof off. There is no evacuating there, so you have to really hunker down. So he's done, a lot of that. Okay, so that's the really importance of planning, especially if there is nowhere to go. If a storm comes over the entire, of Florida, you can't go anywhere. I mean, you'd have to go a couple 100 miles unless it does its little turn and it goes right back over you. So you just really got to make sure that you really have what you have and take with you what you need. Okay. So over the last few years, as we are gaining, it took us a little bit of time. Sorry, I got something in my eye. It took us a little bit of time to get into that, because now when we first got here, we got jobs. COVID hit. We were working 5, sometimes 6 days a week. Then the school shut down. And, that's when the big paper towel shortage and the toilet paper and all this, the Lysol wipes, everything was running out. And we didn't really have anything. And at that time, I was like, I wanted to have all this stuff, but I never sat down, made the plan, got it ready. So this is why it's so important. Now, I don't think we're going to have another 2020 happen. I'm hoping, knock on wood, anytime soon. However, you don't know what is going to happen. So you always want to have a little bit of a backup. So I have a big rule of thumb. Okay, so after you purchase some of these extras, have a place for them. Okay, out of the way, mark them like hurricane supplies. You can mark them like a 72-hour hurricane or emergency kit. If you live in the West, mark it as a tornado storm shelter kit, because I'm sure you guys, not everybody, but I'm sure most of you guys usually have like a tornado shelter or something to that. Stick it down in there. For those who are in earthquake prone areas. You know, you can have a little something. I know that it can't be too much, especially if your house collapses. But I mean, even if you were able to have something even in your car, you know, you may not be able to keep it at house, but if you can have like a small like bug out bag or something like that in your car, you know, at least you'll be able to have a couple of hours, maybe a day or so of emergencies, whether it's food, band-aids, you know, mylar blankets as a shelter to keep you warm. That is all awesome, okay? And then you don't come off as a prepper if you mark it as hurricane supplies, keep it in your car, just you're prepared for emergencies. Then during the sales, we are now almost into Thanksgiving, okay? So between Thanksgiving and between Christmas, you guys are going to have maybe some stores say, like, if you buy a certain amount of items, you know, like $100 worth of items or whatever, you get like a free turkey or a free ham. Take those deals. You know, if you can afford it, go 1 week, then do it again the next week and get a couple of hams, get a couple of turkeys. If you know how to can, you can can these items and they're, well, not the ham. You can't can ham, okay? But at least like turkeys, or any other types of meats or stuff, can them, put them in your cabinet, you know, somewhere safe. That way you don't have to rely on heat that's already then pre-done if you've cooked it, okay? Keep stuff like that available, okay? Use your buy one, get one free sales. I can't talk enough about Publix. I love Publix. Okay. Yes, I still shop at Walmart. There are some things that Publix doesn't have that my kids needs. You know, we do have an Aldi down this area. I don't really go into Aldi too much. I have a few times, but I'm a big Sam's Club person, so I'll do Sam's Club quite often. There are people out there that do the Azure Standard hauls. I haven't done a Azure to Standard haul yet. I do plan on doing one. I would like to see how it all works in their products, but I haven't done one of those yet. But get those buy one, get one free sales. During this time, sometimes they're trying to get rid of, stores are trying to get rid of things. Farmers markets, if you're in an area with a farmers market, you know, see if you can go ahead and buy in bulk on those ends. Sometimes those end of season fruits and vegetables, you know, they're trying to get rid of them. So if you're able to get like a big bulk in some of this stuff, that is awesome. Go get them. Go get the tomatoes. Go get cucumbers. You know, make your tomato sauce. Make your salsa. Make pickles, you know, anything that you can use, anything that you can think of. And that way you have it shelf stable, especially if you can it. You go and blanch some of the stuff, put it in the freezer, or do what you need to do. I know right now the pick your owns aren't really open in my area. But I mean, if you're like up in the Northwest or something like that, and you guys got your apple orchards or whatever, go pick up all your apples, make applesauce, have apple pie filling put aside, make jellies and jams with all this stuff. Use your imagination. It is limitless, okay? And I remember a time, and I'm going to tell you this right now, that I had went into one of our local stores and I had bought really just regular items for us with some extra prep items in there. And I had this nosy cashier and one of the customers behind me, and I'm loading up all of my stuff. I don't remember if my husband was there or not, but I just kept putting up all my items, and then somebody looked at me and like, why are you getting all of this stuff? You know, what are you doing, hoarding? And I was like, in my mind, I'm just getting my preps ready. Now, we were at the beginning of hurricane season. I want to say it wasn't last year, but I think it was the year before that. So I think we're like 2 years ago. And I'm like, no. I says, there's no storms out or anything like that yet. I says, but I'm just prepping. I'm getting, my supplies, that what I need to come right before the hurricane season. And they both looked at me like I had like three heads. Like, really? What are you prepping for? This is outrageous. So I don't say that anymore. I don't say I'm getting prepped for the hurricane season. I just tell them I have a very large family. I usually try to shop for, the month. And they usually leave me alone. Um, so I mean, if you feel embarrassed or ashamed or something like that, just use that. I have a large family. It doesn't matter if you're just a single person or not. I have a large family and I make big meals and just call it a day. And because I mean, they don't really need to know everything. But when you also to get those items in, you want to make sure that you rotate your items. So first in to first out, I usually go ahead and write down um, the expiration dates, either more clearly on it, or I usually try to write down the date that I bought it. That way I can keep rotating it in. Um, and that way you always have fresh product on your shelf. Now, obviously, don't ever get stuff that you don't use. So if you don't eat black beans or you don't eat pinto beans, don't get those, okay? We eat that stuff, and actually I had a video on canning. I'm actually gonna need to do another video on that soon because I only have 2 things of black beans and I think 1 or 2 things of pinto beans left. So I'd like to go ahead and do another video on that. I'm getting much better at canning. I swear that first video really was a true and tried testament to me, but I did great. I've canned other stuff before. My next project, I think, is probably trying to go ahead and can some vegetables and stuff like that. I know I'm at the end of October, but I have no problem trying to go ahead and like go to the store and get like the organic carrots just to go ahead and give it a try. Next year, I do plan on going. We have a local farm stand down here. Now, I don't know if you've seen my garden before. I'm trying. I really am. I have a hard time either managing it or the soil or something to that matter. But I can grow a lot in my garden bed. Oh, an acorn just fell. I do rely a little bit on my mom and dad. When they have extras, I am more than happy to take them. They got green beans and peppers and jalapenos and bok choy and lettuce. And when they ask, I take and take and take as much as I can. But I would like to still go ahead and do that. So we're going to have to try to see about maybe amending the soil. I did get some irrigation systems, so we can go ahead and line the drip irrigations this year. I mean, I won't set anything all up until, next year, probably maybe like January, February, March, depending. But I mean, I'm going to try to go ahead again and get this going. So I am still trying very desperately to handle all of my fresh products. Now, there's no way I could still grow as much as I can for my family for a whole year. So I will probably go to the farm stand and pick up, I've already contacted them and they said no problem. Like next year, go and buy like cases of, tomatoes. I can make them my homemade tomato sauce, make salsa, make barbecue sauce, whatever I want. And then go ahead and do the same thing with everything else, carrots. We have a wonderful farm near us as well that does fresh sweet corn. I'll go over there this time next year and I'll go ahead and pick some up. Someone's having a problem over there. But anyway, so yeah, I mean, I would like to go ahead and do that. But also too, when you do buy in bulk, especially if it's in the store, like I said, I like my Sam's Club. So I will go get like a 50-pound bag or a 25-pound bag of like jasmine rice. You want to use a white rice, okay? So like a whole wheat rice or a wheat rice is not going to last a lot longer than white. It will go rancid no matter how good you try to store it. Okay, so when you want to go ahead and store rice, if you're a single person and you buy a 25-pound bag of rice, you want to go ahead and use some mylar bags, some oxygen absorbers, seal it, use what you're going to cook, and so if you're going to do, maybe like make a couple of things of rice, keep it in the refrigerator so you have leftovers for a day or two, that's perfect. You don't want to waste your mylar bags, okay? And then you want to stick those in a gamma sealed containers. I can put a link down below. You can find them really at any store, but I can put a link down. I got mine off Amazon. I'll throw my link down there for you. But just make sure you do your research, because there are some items that do not do well if you want to go ahead and preserve like that in mylar bags with oxygen absorbers, and then there are some things that do very well. Okay, so just make sure you do your research out there. Again, mark everything when it comes into the house. I'm just kind of like reading my script. I've gone a little bit ahead. Yeah, so you want, like I said, you want to mark everything that comes in. Rotation is key. Make sure you use everything that you buy, okay? Just because it's on sale and buy one, get one free. If you don't use it, don't do it. Also too, how much food gets wasted over a course of a year for a family? I mean, you're talking probably at least $1,000 or more, because if you buy something and then it goes expired, I mean, you're just going to throw it away. Now, there are some things, you always want to make sure you smell it. And if it has any kind of smelly funk to it, just get rid of it. It's when in doubt, throw out. But I mean, there are some canned items that, it's best used by, okay? It's not really like an expiration. So you still want to use some of this stuff during the best time that it's been picked and it's fresh. But, you still want to double check it, okay? So you don't want to be wasting any money if you are certainly not going to go ahead and take care of that, all right? So once you get a reliable organization system in place, like dating everything, having an inventory checklist, your rotations, you will see how much easier it'll be. It does take time. Seriously, because it's taken us about 2 or 3 years to go ahead and find a breathable and retainable inventory and a maintenance system that works for us. Don't try to keep up with the Joneses, okay? You will never attain that, and you need to do you, okay? So you're going to first start off with at least 3 days worth of supplies of food, medicine, water, and any pet foods or any pet medications that you have, okay? Get a full 3 days worth of everything for you, okay? I have found that sometimes the water, you start off with like the bottles of water, that they have. They've got great sales, go for it. Then you can turn your attention to, like rinsing out a milk container if you need to. Go ahead, maybe put like just a smidgen of bleach and some water in there, give it a good shake up. Do that maybe 1 or 2 times to get like the milk smell out of it. And then if you wanted to, then go ahead and fill that up with water and store that. Because you remember, you need 1 gallon of water per person per day. And that includes your pets, your cleaning, your washing, and everything. Okay, like brushing your teeth and stuff like that. And then you want to go ahead and go for 1 week, 2 weeks, and then eventually move up to go at least 30 days. Okay, now I know that sometimes it can sound a little bit more complicated than it really is, but just take your time, okay? So if you're feeling overwhelmed, just like I did when I first started, I totally get it. But you just want to start with one list first. Okay, so it's either going to be a list of food, some medications, some like first aid supplies, some pet supplies. Go ahead and just start with one. So, for an example, let's just do pet supplies, okay? You and I will go ahead and do this together. So, you want to say how many pets you have. So, for this example, let's just say you have one. Now, I have four, okay? I have four. I have four beautiful cats and I have 12 wonderful chickens, okay? Now, my cats are taken care of. This is how I attained it, okay? First, you need to see how much your cat eats in a month time on the dry food, okay? Now, if you do dry, you may still want to do dry, okay? So, say you mark on a calendar what day you opened up that bag of food, okay? So you mark saying, so say it's today, okay? And you give your cat the normal amount of food every single day. Let's just say for fun that your cat eats a 20-pound bag in 1 month. I know that's outrageous, but let's just say for example, okay? The wet food, say you give your cat a full can a day or maybe a half a can a day, okay? You want to see when your normal box, so you could get a 24 pack, there's a 36, there's a 48. I get a 48 pack because I got 4 cats, okay? Now, what I do is they get fed 3 times a week. They get fed on Sundays, on Tuesdays, and on Thursdays. That's it. They all get a half a can, okay? And they have dry out all the time, and they have wet food. They're water filled all the time. We have a running, like little water fountain kind of thing for them, okay? And that's how we feed them. Now they do have some treats and stuff, and thankfully no one has taken any medication, but you need to want to make sure you take that all into account as well, okay? So you mark on a calendar when you opened up your dry food. You mark on the calendar when you opened up that box of canned goods. See how long it takes you to use that. Then the next time you go and buy one, buy 2. The next time you go buy 1, buy 2. Now you have 3 in your pantry, okay? So you keep going. Get at least 6 months worth of supplies for your cats or your dogs or any other pets that you have, okay? You don't have to buy the cat dry food and the wet food at the same time. You don't have to do that, okay? You can rotate, okay? Buy 2 of the cat dry food first. Then you go and you buy the kitty food, the wet, in another, maybe 2 weeks or something like that. And then try to rotate. Medicine is a little bit harder, especially if it's life depending. I know some people that actually have, they have their, pets have to take insulin. Okay, so that is on a much bigger scale. Your doctor is not going to give you that extra at that time frame. So you still need to try to see what you can do to make sure that your pet will be okay in case they can't have insulin for a couple of days. But that's something that you need to talk a little bit more one-on-one with your doctor, okay? So with all that, and I hope this information has helped you, okay? And if you've now got that system in place, work on a different one. So if you start with your pets, get them caught up. When they have buy one, get one frees if your area, or if you use coupons, use some coupons. There's no shame in that, okay? So if you got coupons and you got a really great sale, just think maybe buy a couple of extra that week if you can, all right? There's nothing wrong with some of this stuff, because you got to remember, if you have no electric and you have no heat or anything like that, you're eating Chef Boyardee out of a can if there is no way that you can heat the stuff up. So make sure that you have some stuff that is still edible, that is, out of a can if needed, or if you do canning, some stuff that you don't even have to heat up. Say for instance, you forgot to go fill up the propane tank or something like that. So, I mean, you have nothing, you'd want to be able to do that. Or, if you slide off the road in a bad storm or something like that, at least then that way in the back, if you've got some canned goods, you might be able to survive a couple extra days. Okay. So these are some of the things that I just would like you to go ahead and think about, and tell me if you do stuff like this. Okay. I just want to go ahead and say thank you again for coming into my home today. If you like these videos, please go ahead, like and share. Place a comment down below. Tell me if you do any of these kinds of preps, okay? I would love to hear this. I do have some friends and some family in the area that are now like stocking up, and they're being a little bit more prepared. There's nothing wrong with having extras in your house, okay? There is nothing wrong with that. So go ahead and, like I said, like, share, comment. Go ahead and subscribe and click that notification bell so you get my videos up and ready as soon as they've been uploaded. And keep on cooking. Bye.